Okay, Dr. Muhammad, we can start now.
Okay. Bismillah wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum everyone. And warm welcome to today's webinar, Halal Tourism, Shaping Sustainable Travel Experiences. I am Dr. Muhammad Batur from Sharqiya University, and I am also the editor of Journal of Islamic Marketing at Scopus Q1. And inshallah, I will share this session. We are delighted to host this discussion under the umbrella of ICCD Leadership Talks and a platform dedicated to exploring innovative strategies for a prosperous and sustainable economic future in the Islamic world. The global focus on environmental sustainability growth, Halal tourism emerges as a powerful opportunity to meet the needs of Muslim travelers and promote ethical, responsible, and sustainable travel practices worldwide. By integrating Islamic values with sustainability, we can redefine how travelers experiences destination while preserving a cultural and environmental integrity. Today's webinar, Halal Tourism, Shaping Sustainable Travel Experiences, will explore actionable strategies to unlock the potential of halal tourism and ensure its meaningful contribution to the global travel industry. Together, we will examine how this niche market can drive positive change, foster inclusivity, and create lasting impact. Now it's an honor to introduce our distinguished panel of speakers who will share their expertise. First, Dr. Salwa Sawari, Assistant Professor at the Department of Tourism, Kuliya of Sustainable Tourism and Contemporary Language, International Islamic University, Malaysia, IIUM. Second, Mr. Fazal Bahruddin, CEO of Concentrating and Halal Trip. Third, Mr. Abdul Malik Taylor, owner of Halal Cruises, the director of Halal Tourism Britain. Number four, Mr. Irshad Kader, CEO of Global Think. So let's extend a warm welcome to our esteemed panelists. We are truly honored to have such distinguished experts join us today. Our first speaker, Mr. Irshad, thank you so much to be with us today. We are impressive actually to your experience in this field. With an impressive career spanning over 3 decades, Mr. Irshad has held leadership roles with some of the world's most prestige international companies across travel retail, food, beverage, and hospitality sectors, bringing in available expertise from Australia, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East. So, Mr. Irshad, we honor to have you with us today. So, my first question to you, you might also, as I understand, you have some slides to present. So, first question for you, could you elaborate how halal practices are driving ethical and sustainable tourism? We have more one question. From your extensive experiences, what is the strategy would you recommend for expanding halal tourism in emerging markets, and how Global Tourism Hub better promote this offering? So the floor is yours, Mr. Irshad.
Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah khair, Professor Muhammad Batur. It's an honor for us to be here together, all halal Muslim travel tourism or halal tourism industry experts. Also, Dr. Siti Salwa is here, and also Brother Abdul Malik, and also Brother Fazal Bahruddin. And also thanks to ICCD and the team headed by Sister Isra for organizing this important, timely needed conference, webinar. So answering to your questions, Professor Batur, I would like to share my screen, and answers are there in my slides. So let me share the screen so that will make
Yes,
my answer very clear. Yeah, inshallah. Inshallah. All right, here we go. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Salatu wassalamu ala Rasulil Kareem. Yes, so halal tourism shaping sustainable travel experiences is the theme of today's webinar. So what I thought was to include some of the questions Professor Batur just asked from us. And for the audience or participants, for me to start this presentation, I would love to ask you or request you to, if you have any questions, feel free to keep those questions with you, and when the Q&A time comes, you can post those questions, and we are here to help you, inshallah. Right.
Sure.
Yep, I think the slides moving. Let me check. Oh, here we go. All right. So first of all, what is, of course, let's look at the halal tourism industry background. So these figures are showing, I mean, of course, it shows a very promising future based on a GMTI crescent rating report published last year, 2024. It talks about 230 million arrivals in the industry, halal tourism industry itself. So that's the market, of course, resurgence and growth in the Muslim travel market, which is really huge in numbers, and also which amounts to US dollars $225 billion in 2028. So it's very lucrative market, which is fast growing. We had a dip in numbers, of course, 2020 and 21 because of COVID. However, the market is bouncing back, and we can see that promising numbers in the forefront. So halal tourism is one of the fastest growing segments, and also it's not a niche anymore. It's becoming a mainstream a travel industry. Also, we are targeting or catering to 2 billion halal conscious guests. They are out there. So 2 billion customers are waiting to be served. So it's a huge potential for us. And also out of 2 billion halal conscious guests, and we have 60% of this 2 billion are below the age of 30. So young generation is emerging. They are the Gen Zs, Gen Alpha, of course, late Gen millennials as well. So it's a huge potential for us in this segment or in this sector. So what is the intersection of halal tourism and sustainability? How these two are connecting? This is something very important. Sometimes we get confused. So what is halal tourism to do with sustainability? Let's look at it. So number one, this lies in the shared principles of ethical responsibility, environmental consciousness, and social well-being. There are three areas which are really integrated. If you look at the halal tourism principles, are basically the principles of sustainability as well, right? So ethical responsibility, environmental consciousness, and also social well-being. If you look at the concept of sustainability and how it is embedded into halal tourism. So if you look at the SDG, of course, sustainable goals, promoting ethical business practices. So Islam talks about ethical business practices. No cheating, no you promise and under-deliver. No, it's not allowed in Islam. So business practices, it should be ethical. Number two, which is, of course, the same as sustainability. Environmental stewardship. How much we are caring about our environment while doing our businesses or while doing any other activities. So environmental stewardship is also spoken in the halal tourism, which is also spoken in sustainability. And also cultural preservation, how we respect the culture of a destination, which is also being spoken in the halal tourism. So the halal tourism and the sustainability, these two are working or aligning together. So by integrating halal principles with sustainability efforts, so industry can offer travel experiences that benefit the environment, local economies, the cultural heritage, while ensuring ethical and inclusive tourism practices. So these are some of the important elements. Both halal tourism and sustainable tourism are basically aligning together. Let's look at the next part of it. It's very important. How halal tourism enhances sustainable tourism. There are three aspects I look at. Of course, number one is ethical and responsible tourism. Second one is, as I mentioned to you earlier, environmental stewardship. Third is cultural and heritage conservation. So let's look at the first part of it, right? So how halal tourism enhances sustainable tourism. The first part is ethical and responsible tourism. So fair trade and local economy support. So halal tourism always encourage for us to spend our dollars in the local community. We need to support them, right? And also ask them, of course, don't go and bargain too much from a local community where you are visiting a destination, right? Try to help them, right? Try to encourage local sourcing of food, right? And crafts and services benefiting the communities. Give them back what you gain, you give them back to the community. So it's ethical and responsible tourism aspect of it. Second part of the halal tourism, how it's connected to sustainable tourism, is the environmental stewardship. Yeah, so eco-friendly accommodations. Now, many halal-friendly hotels focus on water conservation, which is part of halal tourism and sustainable tourism too. So energy efficiency and waste reduction, and these are aligning with sustainable hospitality trends. Israf is not allowed in Islam. Of course, that principle is also applying in sustainable tourism. Let's look at the third part of it, cultural and heritage conservation. So how we can respect the local traditions, right? So halal tourism encourages cultural awareness and preservation, ensuring that tourism does not disrupt local ways of life. So even when you go visit places where you respect their culture, the heritage, and also and honor the lifestyle of that particular locality so that we respect them. That's also part of sustainable tourism. So we can see in many ways halal tourism is aligned with sustainable tourism. So let's look at the strategies for expanding halal tourism in emerging markets. It's something very important for us. How best we can expand halal tourism in emerging markets. Number one, market development and awareness building. This is very important. So governments and tourism boards should run targeted marketing campaigns to educate businesses about halal tourism economic potential. It's sometimes sad to hear or sad to see, I'm sure Fazal would agree with me, the OIC member countries, some are really in the forefront, but many are still behind in development of Muslim-friendly tourism or halal tourism. We take Muslim-friendly tourism for granted in our Muslim countries. But when you look at the non-Muslim countries, they are showing huge efforts, interest in developing this segment because they see the potential. They see the economic potential which is there in front of them. But for us, many Muslim countries are still far behind in developing the market or even awareness building exercise. Then the second part, the second strategy that we can implement in expanding the halal tourism in emerging markets is halal tourism certification and standardization. At the moment, we do have only one standard, which is, of course, introduced by SMIC, General Standards. It was published in 2009. But other than that, we do not have. But Custom Rating is doing a great job, certification part of hotels and my segment. But however, we do not have global standards yet. So we need to develop something which can be catered to many around the world, especially for halal tourism, for the hotels, restaurants, and entertainment providers. Also, we must introduce official halal certification.
Mr. Rashad,
Yeah.
and I just need to Mr. Rashad, I just need to highlight you because time is very limited. Try to shorten your time
sure.
because we
Inshallah.
have only 15 minutes for each one.
Sure.
Okay.
Right. So introduce official halal certification for tourism services. So make it easier for travelers to identify compliant businesses. Yeah. And also another area that we can see, of course, we can develop in the emerging markets is infrastructure and service enhancement. So to develop halal compliant resorts, wellness centers, and eco lodges. And also the other important part or the point that I'd like to stretch is digital and smart tourism integration, which is the future. So if you're developing a new market for halal tourism or emerging markets, we need to focus on digital and smart tourism integration. Utilize AI-driven travel apps, which is basically is fast growing segment. Let me quickly go through what are the roles of global tourist hubs in promoting halal tourism. Of course, we know some of the leading tourist hubs in halal tourism. Of course, Malaysia is in the forefront, Indonesia, UAE, Turkey. These countries are really doing a great job. They are in the forefront in the global GMTI reports almost every year. So what can they do, being a hub, to promote this halal tourism? Number one, knowledge exchange and innovation. Something very important. They have already tested the concepts, ideas, innovative products and services. They should be able to share with emerging markets. This happened in 2020. I still can remember Japan when they hosted the Olympics. Japan seek the advice and consulting services from the Malaysian government. So that's something that we can always think of, sharing knowledge. Also, halal tourism hubs, the halal tourist hubs like Malaysia, Indonesia, Turkey, and UAE, they can also host halal events, expos, and so on and so forth, and networking events, and so forth. Also, the halal hubs can also develop upskilling talents and developing capacity development activities, and they can share it with the emerging markets. So what are the emerging trends in Muslim-friendly tourism? Number one, digital transformation and smart halal travel, which is on the increase. AI-powered travel planning, blockchain-based halal certification, where you can trace the logistics of the food, farm to fork concept, where how the product has reached the dining table from the farm. So that is something that assurance part is being done through digital transformation. If you look at the growth of ethical, sustainable halal tourism, younger travelers, as I mentioned, out of 2 billion, 60% of population are below 30 years. They're Gen Zs, or in future, of course, we will have Gen Alphas. So these generations are going to look at the sustainable and ethical tourism destinations. So we can really promote this part as well. The other trend is rise in female Muslim travelers. This is very interesting. The solo travelers and group travelers, especially women-only travelers, are on the increase. So last few slides, I have 1 or 2 slides. What are the challenges we face? Number one, absence of unified halal tourism standards. I mentioned this. We need to work towards it. This is something very important. Second, insufficient halal-friendly infrastructure. Still, we are far behind. As I mentioned, in Muslim countries and non-Muslim countries, we need to develop further the infrastructure facilities for develop the Muslim-friendly tourism to the next level. And also limited staff training and awareness. This I have seen in many countries where still the Muslim-friendly tourism or halal tourism is not being known or by, of course, the stakeholders. We need to create this awareness. Underdeveloped marketing and promotion. We are not bringing the content of Muslim-friendly tourism to the world in a right manner yet. Only few are doing the right job, but majority are still not communicating well what is Muslim-friendly tourism is all about. Therefore, we need to do that. It's something very important for us. Also, we have to develop regulatory and policy gaps. Right. So the last part of it is the significance of partnerships and cooperations among stakeholders. This is something very important. A strong network of partnerships is important between the countries, certification bodies, and governmental institutions. The governments and tourism boards must provide regulatory frameworks, governance frameworks. This is something very important. Hong Kong is doing it. Singapore is doing it. Singapore is taking the lead always. They are basically top in the GMTI report every year, and they're doing a great job. So we have to encourage our even OIC member countries to invest in infrastructure, accessibility, and promotion. Halal certification bodies and standardization organizations. So we need to get, as I mentioned, the certification bodies and standardization organizations to work together and bring a global standard for Muslim-friendly tourism. Then also PPPs, of course, public-private partnerships. We have to work hand in hand in developing the infrastructure, and also investors to invest in halal tourism infrastructures. So halal tourism awareness and training programs, it is a must. we have to create awareness, and that will help us to go to the next level. So what's the future of sustainable halal tourism? Increased demand for eco-friendly and ethical travel, as I mentioned earlier. Integration of technology in halal travel. Let us do that because it's something the future is going to look like. Integration of technology. Rise of halal eco destinations. Gen Z, Gen Alpha is going to join the team. That they're looking for halal eco-friendly destinations. Are we ready for it? Let's look at it. Sustainability certifications and standards. Let us introduce global standards so everyone can practice and there won't be any confusion. So the last slide, this is the takeaway from my perspective. I believe halal tourism is not just about serving Muslim travelers. It's about creating travel experiences that are ethical, inclusive, and sustainable for all. Thank you very much. Sorry
Okay.
if I have taken too
That's
much
okay.
time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rashad. Shakir, for your perspective. It's very يعني, fantastic, actually. So, as I got your some point from your presentation, it's very good actually regarding to we need to actually to unify the standards for halal tourism and also create some awareness and infrastructure to help other countries to motivate or others country to also enter this market. So thank you so much for your contribution. So now let's go through welcome Mr. Abdul Malik, entrepreneur in the world of halal travel. Mr. Abdul Malik, owner of Halal Cruises and director of Halal Tourism Britain, with an impressive career dedicated to celebrating Muslim heritage and redefining travel experiences. Mr. Abdul Malik has been instrumental in shaping the halal travel industry, blending faith-based values with innovation and sustainability. And I met Mr. Abdul Malik personally in Turkey, and he at this time was very nice related to presenting very nice talk related to يعني halal cruise. So my question for you, brother, how do halal cruise contribute to sustainable and ethical tourism? And what are the key challenges business face in maintaining environmentally friendly practice within halal tourism? So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mohammed, Isra, and the whole panelist as well for having me. It's nice to see everybody back again together. Just as a side note to start off with, I think it's quite beneficial I mentioned about my background in that I wasn't a Muslim and I actually converted to Islam about 30 years ago and as a practicing Hindu. And as I was raised, we very much used to look at the green way of life. But when I converted to Islam, I found it quite odd that the Muslim community, I couldn't find like-mindedness there. But now I'm happy to say that there has been I would say a movement that has now finally emerged within the Muslim communities around the world, where shared experiences of, as I say, being green and sustainable has emerged. Now, with regards to contributions in terms of sustainability and ethical tourism from like halal cruises. I mean, when we look at the demographics of the different values in terms of ethical practices, what we do realize is that something that we do look at is whether it's fair labor, animal welfare is taken into consideration. And sometimes people think, well, how do you get animal welfare if you're doing like a halal cruise or just a cruise, as they say? Well, we need to realize that there are animals, and people do like, for example, to see dolphin cruises as well. And not every how can we say halal travel operator likes to actually cater for this, because obviously the harm it can do to the dolphins as well. So there is I would say a small movement in terms of consideration amongst the water animals in terms of the harm it could be done with regards to that. Not all tour operators or halal cruises would actually cater for that. And so something else we need to bear in mind is also modesty. That's another point in terms of females who may wish to dress different from other individuals who are on the cruises as well, and regular activities they may not wish to do in the same manner. So in some ways, when you look at it, what you are trying to do is kind of like foster socially responsible travel experiences, not only for your clientele, but also for the wider sea life, I would actually say as well. I mean, another part to take into consideration is the cultural respect and preservation. So this is kind of echoes Rashad's viewpoint as well, that you have respect with regards to local cultures, local support of Muslim communities as well, and preservation of Muslim heritage sites, whether it's religious or cultural as well. And in some ways, what we can look at this is that when you have like a hop off at a island, what you could have is a trip more to the inner part of the island in itself, and where one would actually be taken by an electric buggy, or you could do an electric bike up to cycle into the inner community and really see how the local community lives as well. So that's in something when you imagine it's not exactly you would find on an urban tour. It can be found on the urban tour, but the whole, if you like, the landscape obviously is different as well. Something else that you would find is that eco-friendly operations. Some boats integrate green technology, such as waste reduction systems. Some would also use solar panels as well, sustainable water management, aiming to reduce the ecological footprint of, as I say, maritime sea travel as well. And once again, we have another part that echoes Ishard as well, is healthy, locally sourced food as well. With emphasis on halal food often leads to sourcing from local certified providers, which once again would reduce carbon emissions from transport and support local region architecture as well. And something that you would find in terms of some of the challenges in terms of maintaining environmental friendly practices. There's a number of concerns that one could actually have. And one part, what I would actually say that I've noticed is that in terms of like we're, I think, capable of issuing halal certificates. And I think that's globally done. But there is this part in terms of what we would call the green certification part. And by that, I do mean that if it's obviously locally sourced, we're happy with as well. But what about the rearing part of the animals as well? That whole, as Ishard said as well, from the fork, so from the farm to the fork, how is that animal being reared as well? You know, is it being, what is it being fed upon? Has it got land to roam around in as well? And that in itself, I think is still a bit more as a question mark, you could say. And obviously, the local supplier who has the, for example, supplying the food on the cruise, providing the cruise element, they will go to a local supplier, but will they necessarily know how ethical that animal is being raised? So that's a gap in itself, and I think overlaps into the whole part of halal food in itself. Something that we have noticed that halal cruises, in terms of operational costs, can be higher as well. Implementing environmental friendly systems, so for example, hybrid engines, waste processing, water purification, this does incur higher cost. And what you find is that halal cruises, what we traditionally tend to do is work with independent suppliers. So the cost is going to be different as opposed to oceanic cruise, where people are perhaps used to the concept of leaving on a ship from their home country. And when we try to explain, no, this is one where you actually go to the destination, and that's where the cruise will take place. It's mostly a private cruise. So, you know, in terms of the cost of it would be higher as well. And sometimes in terms of like people's expectations in terms of the setup, in terms of the luxury, balancing the luxury between sustainability, that sometimes needs to be explained. What you'll probably find on an oceanic cruise is a more spacious cabin, for example, which will have, you know, perhaps the eco-friendly elements to it as well. But then when you're on a private cruise, it's more of a how can we say that with the cabin is more it has less foot space, you could say, in the cabin, and it's not as spacious as the oceanic cruise ones as well, unless, of course, one actually pays the premium rate, as they would say. And what you also find is that this overlaps into education and awareness, and both for tourists and operators. This is something where they may lack the understanding in terms of sustainable practices, and without proper guidance, however well intentioned, they may fall short on truly being eco-friendly. Yeah, as I said, I mean, I know the larger cruise liners, they would have perhaps more in place, as opposed to smaller private boat cruises. So that's my contribution for this part.
Okay, thank you so much. But I take one point from your speech or talks, that we have a big challenge related to suppliers. Sometimes as a cruise, we have to make sure also they are eco-friendly, and also they provide some halal organic food, and also
Yes.
that might be a challenge. This come to my mind also IKEA. IKEA actually, I have case study. Sometimes we teach to the students. They have to make sure all the suppliers, they are also sustainable. So they actually train and educate the suppliers, and they also they must meet specific criteria until they be accepted to be supplier to IKEA. And this one also, just a benchmarking for the industry in halal cross. Thank you so much for your brilliant insights, for sharing your expertise and vision on the aspect of your industry. Thank you so much. So at this time, I would like to remind our participants that if you have any questions, please share them in the chat box, so that we ask this question to our panelists in Q&A sessions. So now we welcome our third distinguished speaker, Dr. Salwa, Dr. Salwa, Assistant Professor at the Department of Tourism, Kuliya of Sustainable Tourism and Contemporary Language in IIUM. So beyond her academic contribution, she served as research fellow at Concentrating, a global renowned organization at the forefront of Muslim-friendly travel. She is also an active member of a member of the Muslim Young Sharia Scholars Association. Further enriching her expertise in aligning Islamic principles with modern tourism practices. Welcome, Dr. Shid Salwa. We are pleased to be with us today. So my first question to you, how do halal tourism and Islamic values contribute to sustainable tourism practice? So if you can elaborate more on this, and also how can cultural understanding enhance travel experiences for Muslim tourists while promoting cross-cultural harmony? So the floor is yours. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Prof. Batur. I hope that you can hear me. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, I would like to thank ICCD for inviting me for this webinar. And it's a great honor for me to be actually a speaker in this webinar with such a big figure here. We have Mr. Ishad, CEO of Global Think, and then Mr. Abdul Malik, owner of Halal Cruise, and also Mr. Fazal, CEO of Concentrating, which is currently my boss now. In responding to your question just now, when you mentioned about how do halal tourism and Islamic value contribute to sustainable tourism practice, I believe that basically Mr. Ishad already highlight one on that, but I just want to add a little bit, whereby I would like to highlight on the framework of maqasid al-Sharia, the objective of Sharia itself, the objective of Islamic law itself, whereby it's include preservation of religion, preservation of life, preservation of intellect, preservation of lineage, preservation of wealth, where we can see that first and foremost in terms of preservation of religion itself, the deen, you can see that how halal tourism itself actually provides us an environmental that respect Muslim traveler spiritual obligation. And from there, you can see that it ensures for Muslim traveler to access to all these halal food, prayer facilities, and all the activity that basically align with Islamic value. And indirectly, as a traveler, it's allowed us actually to explore the world while we maintaining the religious identity. So this is sustainability. And the second thing, I want to talk about preservation of life. Okay, I will see that it reminds us how in tourism, we must prioritize safety, security, well-being, and also environmental stewardship. Where if you see in the perspective of responsible tourism, where you can see that the development itself is ensure the protection of natural ecosystem, and at the same time, the welfare of both the visitor or host community. So it's very much in line. And then we talk about the third, preservation of intellect, speak the role of tourism in educating and also turning the mind. You can see that travel actually offer unique opportunity for us to actually for experiential learning. Okay, the moment that we travel, where you can see that tourism can promote us authentic cultural exchange, historical appreciation, and also environmental awareness. So from there, you can see that it's nurture intellectuality, it cultivate critical thinking and empathy, intercultural respect. And this value is very much aligned with Islamic teaching. And that's why in the verse of Quran, there are a lot of verses actually emphasize for us to travel. فَسِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ فَانْظُرُوا كَيْفَ بَدَأَ الْخَلْقِ فَسِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ فَانْظُرُوا كَيْفَ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الْمُكَذِّبِينَ. That it should encourage us for us to actually travel and learning. So that's experiential learning. And the third part whereby it's covered, we'll talk about number 4. Preservation of lineage and dignity, okay, where you can see that it highlights the importance of protection of human dignity, modesty, family value, and social morality. So I believe that halal tourism itself, it support this by offering family friendly environment. Halal tourism also promoting respectful behavior, and try as much as possible avoid any activity or environmental that compromise the personal or communal dignity. And it helps us to maintain actually ethical boundaries while still allowing for enjoyment and exploration. It doesn't limit whereby the moment that you need to follow all this rule, you not feel enjoyed, but rather actually it increase the enjoyment. And lastly, we talk about how, with relation to the maqasid al-sharia, preservation of wealth, where I believe that it focuses on encouragement of economic practice that are just, transparent, and also beneficial to all the stakeholders. And halal tourism itself can empower the local economics by supporting Muslim-owned businesses, ethical travel operator, and community-based tourism initiative that force the inclusive growth. So in the essence, I believe that this halal tourism is not just a matter of fulfilling religious obligation, but rather, as mentioned by Mr. Ishad, but basically it's a framework of ethical, responsible, and sustainable travel that's not only benefit people, Muslim or non-Muslim, but also the planet itself, and also broader society. So that's in relation to the first question. And in response to your second question, Prof, that mentioned that how culture understanding enhance the Muslim tourist experience and promote harmony. I believe that travel, tourism itself has the power to build the bridge. How? Okay, when we as a Muslim travel to a certain destination, and then for that destination whereby they start to actually fulfill all these requirements for Muslim traveler to feel like they are welcome. So indirectly, this is already show mutual respect between these both culture. And indirectly, you can see that how this practice showing that for us to actually break all the stereotype and actually foster discussion or dialogue and contribute to peaceful, okay. And initiatives such as, I believe that culture immersive program, Muslim-friendly homestay, and also interfaith tour are basically ensure not only permissible, but it's purposeful, it's ethical and transformative. And I would like to bring one talking about just now you mentioned about how this can bring actually harmony. I would like to bring an example. In Malaysia, we have in Malacca, I believe that those who are already around Malaysia, Malacca is a famous destination, whereby there's one road, one street that we call it as Harmony Street, whereby in the street, the famous with the three different place of worship. There is a Buddhist temple, there's Hindu temple, there is also mosque there, whereby until to the extent it's called as Harmony Street. So the moment that tourist guide actually explain about this, you can show that how interfaith tour is happening there. Okay, so indirectly it show that you can see that is how cultural understanding itself enhance the Muslim tourist experience and also able to promote harmony. Okay, I think that's all from my part in response to your question. Back to you, Prof.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Salwa. I think actually just to bring some point from your talk, one of the most important, actually, we have to integrate يعني مقاصد الشريعة in halal tourism. This one will be actually beneficial to all Ummah and the planet as well. Second, actually, regarding to the second question related to mutual respect, especially culture. The mutual respect, actually, I have a paper, we try to develop يعني halal tourism travel experiences or Muslim friendly travel experiences. One of the dimensions that we touch in this research that we need to find a solution for sometimes Islamophobia or discrimination. This one, of course, will increase the cultural harmony. And alhamdulillah, you come up with the best example, or actually ideal example, that is the Harmony Street in Malacca, which is bring some other religion together in one place so everybody can actually. Thank you so much for your talk and your very good contribution on this. So now we are honored now to, of course, welcome our next distinguished speaker, Mr. Fazal Bahruddin, a true visionary and global authority in halal travel. Through his pioneering work as a founder and CEO of both Concentrating and Halal Trip, Mr. Bahruddin has fundamentally and transformed actually the travel industry for Muslim travelers worldwide. MashaAllah, his innovative platform have not only identified but actively shaped the solution for unique needs of Muslim travelers. Established a new standards for halal tourism globally, and alhamdulillah, his reports and his publishing work, all of this publishing we are using in our research paper, and mashallah, or he's also a cooperation with Mastercard, this one also will beneficial. So my first question for you, Mr. Fadal, which is sorry, changing the question. Mr. Fadal, my question, could you elaborate on how Concentrating and the Halal Trip are driving the convergence of halal and sustainable tourism? This is my first question for you. Second, from your remarkable journey at the beginning from halal travel, I'm not sure when, 2010 or I'm not sure 2010 or something. I'm not sure about the starting point for your Concentrating. What the key challenges have you encountered in elevating these sectors, and how have you addressed them? The floor is yours, Mr. Fadal.
Jazakallah, Dr. Batur. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Alaikum salam.
I hope you can hear me. It's
Alhamdulillah,
really
yes,
a pleasure
we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
Pleasure to be among these distinguished panelists. I know Dr. Salwa said, I'm her boss. I am not actually. It's our pleasure to have her as a research fellow in our team. We are benefiting from her. Alhamdulillah. Thank you, everyone. And let me, of course, thank ICCD for inviting me. Pleasure to be with all of you. I hope you can see my slides. Can you see that?
I see. I think you have to share. I think you have sharing only the desktop. So please share the slides. You share this desktop.
Okay, let me see. Share. How about now?
It's uploading, I think. Can you please double click to for full screen mode? Yes, now okay. Now okay, go ahead. Yes.
Okay. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So, as Dr. Batur was saying, we started a long time ago. It's actually, the year was 2006, actually.
Okay.
Although we probably only came to, sort of known maybe in 2009. Anyway, anyway, since we do a lot of research on this subject, so, these are some of the stuff that we keep encountering, sustainability, climate action, digital transformation. So we continuously encounter, because we keep a very close look at the pulse of the travel industry, so that we can align halal tourism or whatever we do with what's going on around the world. So we actually started incorporating sustainable tourism first in the 2022 GMTI. So 2022 GMTI, we introduced sustainability as one of the metrics that we are going to measure. There are challenges with measuring sustainability in destinations. I mean, I can briefly talk about it maybe later. And then in 2023, we also introduced some work on halal trip in terms of responsible, from a consumer point of view, what can the consumers do to, I'll share with you, what can the consumers do to be responsible tourists. And in 2024, I think was a major breakthrough into this with the launch of the Rida framework, which I'm going to talk about. So yeah, so I think we have been trying to embrace responsible tourism, but I think the problem with these kind of things is, how do you embrace, how do you quantify, how do you judge the quality of this? So there are challenges to that. It's of course easy to say we all want to, be responsible, we want to integrate responsible tourism, but how do we do it? How do you measure that is the biggest challenge. So 2024, as I said, we really dived into it a lot more. Some of you, I'm sure, have read our report, 2024 report that we introduced the Rida framework. So before I talk about the Rida framework, so this is what we did. Initially in 2022, we introduced sustainability as one of the data sets that we are going to look at in terms of ranking the destinations. And the real challenge in that is that, it's very difficult to get data. If you want to get data on single-use plastics in the destination, it's not every country has that data. If you want to look at carbon emission, probably it's a little bit more easier to find. If you want to look at other, how are they integrating ethical tourism, it's difficult to measure. It's not measurable today, really not measurable. But from where we come from a point of view, we need to measure. If you want to integrate it, we need to measure. And how do you measure? That's the challenge, And then last year we introduced, because we see that accessible travel, which is, making travel easier for those with physical disabilities, because more and more the world is aging now, more than 2 billion people are over the age of 60. You will see a lot of wheelchairs all around the place, tourism places. So how do you make it easy for them? So we also introduced accessible travel last year. So this is an ongoing effort for us to introduce these elements into GMTI, because GMTI is where, ACES framework as we use is where we really want to bring all this into the picture. But then we realized, that alone is not sufficient to capture all what else is going on in this space. We have the responsible element, which is one of the key elements. Then we also have other trends which are critical for the sustainability as a whole of the tourism industry and tourism services. A lot of, basically travelers are wanting to be, having immersive experiences. Of course, digital element is important. We need to integrate a lot of technology. AI is disrupting the whole space. And of course, from a Muslim point of view and quality point of view, we need to assure a safety, security, and Muslim-friendly standards and all that. So, which is why we came up with this framework, Rida framework, so to basically, so GMTI with the ACES model is to look at how countries are Muslim friendly. And the RIDA framework that we built was to see how services are embracing all these 4 elements into their services. Yeah. So each of these services, each of these dimensions has its own, subcategories that we want to look at, and we have written papers on that as well. We don't have time actually to go through all that. So that's what it is. RIDA framework is where we really want to push the whole discussion around responsible travel, immersive travel, integrating digital and assured and all that. And of course, RIDA I'm sure you know, it also fits in very well with RIDA as well, which is contentment, and it fits well with the Arabic term RIDA, because travelers want to be content when they travel, right? When they want to be happy, travel, content. So that's nice. And also it works well with the SDG frameworks as well, aligns with UN SDGs. I think we are probably going to release a paper on how well it integrates the SDGs with the RIDA framework, I think in the next couple of months. So that's what we did in 2024. We introduced the RIDA framework, but then we wanted to do, okay, how do we now measure how services are embracing all these elements? So now we have been working on what we call RIDA Impact Score. So we developed the frame methodology, and inshallah, we are going to start doing some trial projects to see how we can apply them. So we want to take services and apply the methodology and come up with this RIDA Impact Score out of 100. How well are they integrating responsible aspects of the service, immersive aspects? How well they are integrating technology? How well are they integrating assured services, like when it comes to Muslim-friendly services? How well are they integrating that? So that's what we are now into. And also last year, we realized that within the responsible tourism framework, within the responsible part of tourism, accessible tourism is critical. As I said, over 1 billion people are people with disabilities. That's 15% of the global population. And all these stats, I'm not going to go through that. And this is a photo I took recently, or a few months ago, at an airport, which you don't see before. Now you see this one, a whole line of around 20 wheelchairs lining up to get into the plane. This is unheard of. I have never seen in my life. I was so taken by this thing. I took a photo while I was seated here, So this is the reality. This is what we are looking at, Of course, Muslim market is much more younger, but, the world as a whole is aging, and we need to make sure. And they are not, they're not aging, and they don't want to stay at their homes. They want to also discover, go around. And, we're just sending 2 people tomorrow on Friday on our Halal trip tours. Both of them are 85 years old. They're very healthy, alhamdulillah. They can walk. They don't need wheelchairs, but they're going, so we need to make sure that we take care of them. So this is another framework that we build. We are still working on it to try and fine tune the ATF framework, what we call accessible travel framework. This is what I said. This was in 2022 that this was the first attempt for us, in terms of developing something around responsible tourism. So we developed this kind of framework. Our idea was to, the issue with responsible tourism is we are not telling consumers, travelers, what they should do. We're not telling them, we're all discussing, with the industry on, this is what we need to do and all that. So our attempt in 2020, this is 2023, sorry, we wanted to say, okay, practical steps to be responsible travelers. This, this is what you should do. Be knowledgeable when you buy things when you travel. Make sure that it is going to the local communities. Don't harm animals. So it's a whole bunch of stuff that we put together. So let me see. So in short, so this is our attempt to try and build sustainable tourism into our frameworks, and also build new frameworks. We don't want to be, we really want to be leading this space, not just following other people's models. No, which Rida was that attempt. We want to build our own frameworks that we can see this whole thing through our worldview, not anybody else's worldview, So that was the attempt. Inshallah, we are in that path now, and we are doing a lot of continued work on, especially on Rida framework and the ATM framework. I think Rida framework, we are now at a stage that we have developed the methodology, inshallah, to test it out on the field, and we will do it the next few months. We are talking to some potential regions that we can test it out. I think that's okay. The one last chart. So our next report, which is coming next week, we will be releasing our next report called Halal Travel Trends 2025. We will be releasing at the PATA annual summit in Istanbul. And thank you to PATA for that. We'll be releasing that on the 23rd of April. Why I'm saying that is that we will tackle some of the travel trends is actually structured around the 4 dimensions of Rida framework. So we will talk about what are the trends within the responsible tourism, within the immersive dimension, digital and assured. And we'll I mean, you will have access to this report, inshallah, next week, and you will see the new trends that we're talking about. That's it, Dr. Batur. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Fazal. It's very interesting, actually. I picked some point from you. Actually, the GMTI and also Rida framework. I hope, inshallah, very soon you can apply the methodology and you can release for us Rida in numbers. So we can actually get more beneficial from our research and also more in the future halal tourism. So now we thank you so much. We can go back to Mr. Irshad. I'm not sure is he still with us or Mr. Irshad. Maybe he left. I'm not sure. Mr. Irshad is still with us.
He's here. I think he's here.
He's here, huh? Well, I think no, it's okay. Mr. Irshad, it's okay. We can go for another. It's okay. So maybe Mr. Fazal, actually, I need to enhance the discussion with you until maybe Mr. Irshad go back, or we can take Mr. Abdul Malik until he comes. Then just to change the Mr. Abdul Malik, I have one question for you related to how, or based on your experience, what are the key opportunities do you see for halal tourism to expand in the global market, particularly in your expertise in traditional destination or in other destinations? So can you give your thought on this? Your voice is missing. Can you please sorry.
Yes, I forgot about that. Apologies.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, I'm from Britain. I'm also doing the presentation from Britain. I'm born here,
Okay.
and in terms of the development of the halal travel trade and what we know from the GMTI successive reports, Britain in itself, amongst the non-OIC countries, if you look at the West, as I say, is the #1 position if you take out Bosnia and Turkey, for example, as well. And that in itself obviously raises eyebrows. Why is Britain, as a non-traditional destination for Muslims, highly rated? And it's also to do with the domestic community, what we find in terms of what they've tried to do. So over here, we've got prayer rooms that are established on highway.
So sorry to interrupt you. So the major your customers from outside Britain or domestic tourists in terms of
it's actually both, to be honest. It's
both.
Huh? So you do have like a UK market, which is domestic UK market, as well as an international market who come to Britain, and they want to obviously find out Muslim heritage here. But people already know that in terms of halal food, there's no problem in Britain. You even have some of the main chains. They would even stock halal chicken, but they won't advertise it as such. Some of the hotels would actually stock halal chicken as well, but they don't advertise it as such. It's only when you ask them, they said, yes, we do. So in terms of like the landscape in terms of halal food in Britain, it's pretty much easy. Is well, the differences of pride is in terms of where it's stunned or unstunned, and then the conversation with regards to that and etc. But something that I would like to add is that when you're looking at halal tourism, what we've tried to actually, in some ways, disrupt what's existing in the halal tourism sector, in the industry, is that what do we call halal tourism? Do we call ourselves like a Muslim-friendly tourism?
Yeah, this
Or
one
is
is
it
a big debate
halal
actually. We
tourism?
use halal or Muslim friendly. This one is
Yes,
big
this is a
debate.
big
We have many
discussion.
research
I know
actually
certain
about this
certain
topic, and especially for the market.
destination, for example, like Malaysian, it's mostly Muslim
Yeah.
friendly. But when we started about 10 years ago, we were inclined towards that as well. But then what happened? We progressed onto a bit more of an inclusive definition of halal tourism. And by that, we were able to promote, for example, halal tourism is not just about prayers. It's not just about prayer places or the halal food. And what we've actually tried to promote, raise awareness as well on platforms like this and conferences, etc., is that there is also something that's called Muslim heritage in destinations as well.
But I see
And
some يعني promotion LinkedIn for yours. You use also word halal sometimes. You are
yes,
using sometimes word halal. So
we do
your
use the word
promotions.
halal tourism
Uh,
Britain, but
yeah.
what we say that is part of what you find is as part of that is Muslim heritage, and even
Muslim heritage,
for
yes.
example, like a Summit as well, they have a definition of what a tour guide is, and when we looked at it and we advised them that it doesn't at present, this was last year, we done some training sessions, it didn't cover the definition that a Muslim tour guide had to know about Muslim heritage, or somebody who was going to cater for Muslims had to know about Muslim heritage. It was just where do you get your halal food from and the prayer places. So we wanted to make this definition a bit more inclusive in terms of, like, when we look at our Muslim heritage, it's there. We should be celebrating it. However, the approach we're taking is not quite there in most of the, I would say, a number of destinations. Some places like Uzbekistan are really promoting it, Bosnia, etc. But there is this matter in terms of, is halal tourism just for Muslims, or is it also for?
This is a good question actually. Sometimes you also big debate. يعني we not consider only halal tourism only for Muslims. Sometimes for all, but it depends in the how you approach or how can what is the,
Yes,
what the value
and
you will provide to your يعني customers based
absolutely.
on
And
the.
the reason why we say this is by way of example, 30% of the people who book with us are non-Muslims.
Oh,
And
mashallah.
that's a large
Oh, 50%. Oh, it's a good
percentage
quite
when you
number.
think about it. And when we take them to mosque, they're
Muslim
happily
heritage.
agreeing. They will take
But
off the
let
shoes.
me يعني I raise the issue here for those who يعني non-Muslim يعني 30%. They book with you to explore Muslim heritage or because of some other reasons. يعني
That is
why
It is to look at the Muslim heritage of
Muslim
Britain,
heritage?
for example.
Okay.
But as we said, even when we go to places of worship, the Muslim places of worship, if there's any like removing the shoes, wearing a headscarf, covering oneself, etc., they're quite happy to do that. So this part we shouldn't, I think, veer away from that. And obviously, there's mosques around the world that do already cater for non-Muslims in terms of when it comes to the dress and how they deliver it, certain times of the day to maybe avoid the prayer times, etc. Maybe photography is only limited at certain times as well. But just to elaborate upon that, in terms of mosque architecture, what we have noticed is that sometimes perhaps they need to think a bit more widely in terms of how perhaps guests to mosque can view the prayers by staying away at a distance, maybe like from a gallery or something, so they're not disturbing the worshippers. And that's something we actually gave feedback to the Sheikh Zayed staff as well. And it is about this whole big discussion, even into when we're looking at Britain, the landscape for alcohol is drastically changing. We are finding many non-Muslims, they don't want to be in environments where alcohol is being served. And when you look at it, that obviously couples with our way of life. And even in the travel trade, what I've noticed is when when it's networking or whatever, and when alcohol's been served, when I've decided then, okay, I mean, I'm believing now there's a number of non-Muslims who are joining me. And I'm like thinking, what's going on here? I said, Abdul Malik, we don't want to be around alcohol either. And there are even people in the travel trade who are introducing non-alcoholic tables in industry events as well. And there would be, seated at these events, non-Muslims as well. So there is this overlap as well. And I think, if you were to embrace that inclusivity in terms of what halal tourism is, I think you would find the number of people who are booking up on the tours, etc., would be a lot more larger, even coming from the non-Muslim communities. And something else that what we've, in terms of the expansion in non-traditional destinations, what we've actually managed to do. I mean, myself, I was Britain's first professionally qualified Muslim tour guide, and it was Brother Faisal who actually encouraged me to get that qualification. So all due credit to him. And what's happened since then, I have actually inspired other people from around the world to get the qualification, as well as setting up Islamic tours, Muslim history tours in non-Muslim destinations. So it could be now we have guided tours in Paris, and we've trained them up as well. There's Barbados as well. We've given them content. There is Scotland. There's Vietnam. Amsterdam has one as well, an Islamic bike tour. So you are seeing an emergence of different types of guided tours in like non-Muslim settings, where destinations, countries, where they are setting up guided tours. And this is perhaps, I think, something that has been perhaps overlooked as well. How do we bring the tour guides within to the overall umbrella of halal tourism as well?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Abdulmalik, for your insights and your thoughts. So returning back to I might start first before Mr. Fazal. We close Mr. Fazal because he might explain more. So Dr. Salwa, Sid Salwa, let me ask this question for you. Could you shed light on the key challenges facing the halal tourism sector? Actually, I think Mr. Rashad touched some points, but you might elaborate more. How can we, what is the key challenges facing halal tourism? And also, how can we overcome these challenges? If you have some thought about this, to kind of examples, so please, go ahead. Yes, the floor is yours.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Batur. So basically, I believe that just now at the early discussion, Mr. Irshad has mentioned about a few challenges about of standardized certification, whereby another infrastructure. I will agree with that thing. That's become a part of the challenge in industry, whereby different country may have their own certification. Talking about halal food itself. Even in Malaysia, we have JAKIM, and then despite of that, the moment that the product from outside come, they have their own halal. So JAKIM has list all this. One of the solution that JAKIM come out, whereby actually to list all this authorized certificate to be actually whether they're accepted or in line.
I think you have JAKIMs, you have Muslim friendly framework, or sometime ISMs 2009, 2011 something.
Okay, so that basically under Islamic Tourism Center, whereby now they are working on Muslim friendly framework. So
yes.
currently now
But this
they
one,
come out
this one for hospitality,
one standard.
but this one for hospitality only, if I'm not mistaken, not for
for the time being, it's cover only for accommodation, hospitality,
yes,
and also tour guide. But according to actually what are the planning actually to cover a lot more in the plan. So basically, it is hope this standard can be used as a main guideline, not only for Malaysia, but
only for Malaysia.
Islamic Tourism Center is aims actually for to be used for global. So this Muslim friendly standard that called as MFA basically can be used by global as one standard. So I believe that this is
sorry to interrupt you. I think they use this framework to rate the hotels in Malaysia.
Yeah, that's
friendly,
basically in Malaysia we have there are few hotels that actually get the rating for this thing, gold, silver. Okay, some of them actually already get the rating for this. But despite of that, I believe that we still face the challenges in terms of the industry start moving to understand. But the consumer, I did also actually just a few months before actually I did some research among the consumer. Do they aware about the existing of this Muslim-friendly certificate? Surprisingly, I would say that 90% consumer that I actually
No,
do
we
a
don't know.
survey, they don't aware about the existing of this thing. Even when I believe that this is a thing that we need to do, whereby initiative have been done for the industry in Malaysia to actually understand it, but unfortunately, the consumer among Muslim consumer in Malaysia, we still actually didn't really clear about this thing. The thing
But
that we aware is only about halal certificate about food from Jakim, but this Muslim friendly certification still I believe in the beginning,
Ustad
basically.
Malik, you want to say something?
I'm not sure,
Yes,
Mr.
please.
Oh,
you
yeah.
have a
Mr.
question?
Malik
It's just
wants
with regards to, we
discuss
obviously
it.
mentioned tour guiding and in Malaysia as well. I've been to Malaysia and I've been on some of the tours, and I had to give the tour guides honest feedback. And in terms of the delivery, what I noticed was that the content, despite being, say, a local Malaysian tour, what I found was that it was more of the British colonial tour. As I said, a former colonial power, it was more akin to that. So, for example, what was the first mosque in a particular locality? They would mention which was the British one, but then we obviously know how much. How far back Islam has been in even Kuala Lumpur, which was obviously a village for in the past, etc. But they would have had a local place to have prayed, even which would have been before the British built a mosque as well. So this is just the feedback that I noticed that I gave at that time. That's something I would even say in different destinations as well. Is that whose content are you covering?
Okay, thank you so much, Malik. So, Dr. Salwa, you need to add something for challenges for halal tourism.
Okay, just want to address what Mr. Malik mentioned just now about related to that tour guide. Basically, now they're actually training on the Muslim-friendly tour guide, whereby the content itself, it doesn't go to the detail about the history. That's required additional information whereby the person itself need to understand. But the main is more focusing on prayer facilities, about prayer time. And I just want to share with you, whereby interestingly, those who actually get this certificate, Muslim-friendly tour guide certificate, is a non-Muslim. So they need to understand very basic time to perform prayer, time for fasting. That's basically. So in terms of content-wise, that actually other part that should be covered. But I think that that's a good thing to highlight. So we can bring this to the upper for discussion.
The missing
And talking about
element.
challenges, I just want to highlight about where I think that among the challenges about what Mr. Ishad has mentioned is limited understanding about halal tourism concept among non-Muslim majority
The
countries.
awareness and
I would deny in Europe, there are a lot of people actually the understanding are increasing now, but yet there are still a lot of non-Muslim majority country whereby they don't really understand about this thing. And it often to be misunderstood as when we talk about halal tourism is only exclusive for Muslim. It's only restrictive. Okay, so when the true fact about we talk about halal tourism, it promote inclusivity. It promote ethical behavior and respect for all culture. Even Mr. Abdul Malik mentioned before this, whereby people talk about green in halal tourism is something that actually not many, but now there are more people talking about it. But yeah, the issue that actually is already there, but people didn't really talk much. So we need more people to talk about this thing, and we need more people to actually to explain this thing. And I believe that to solve this challenge, I believe that Crest Rating are doing a great job. Malaysia also doing a great job whereby they give a lot of free webinar. Okay, they open for discussion. Even what we are doing now, basically, actually explaining to the world whereby what is the truth about halal tourism. We don't have misunderstanding about what about halal tourism is only mainly for Muslim. And even I believe that I have a discussion with my friend before. I will talk about when Indonesia start to apply Sharia compliant hotel early beginning. Actually, they get bad feedback from the consumer in the sense of when a hotel, they declare themselves Sharia compliant. non-Muslim feel that they are not welcoming. They say, oh, this hotel mean for only Muslim. I shouldn't enter this hotel. So that's
I
the
think
early beginning of
I
the
think
journey.
the main point is also the meat, or يعني the Mr. Irshad said that we need maybe more training and awareness, especially for non-Muslims, so they understand well what we offer for them in terms of halal tourism products, halal tourism services, halal tour, or whatever يعني. So they need to approach
Yes.
this kind of customers and that kind of tourists so they can understand. We create awareness among them. We don't offer this product only for Muslims. We offer for all. And I think
Yeah.
Mr. Abdullah said 30% from non-Muslim they already يعني book. I think it is a good opportunity to increase this يعني market, and
Percentage.
so thank you so much يعني دكتور سيد سلوى. So
Yeah, and also, Professor, I
yes,
just
yes.
wanted to add to this point, and stereotyping, and people think that is only for Muslims. It's a good dawah opportunity as well. I mean, we need to see more materials coming in the non-Muslim countries too. As far as
I agree. I totally agree with you, because most of the conferences, webinar, if all materials only يعني targeted or targeting Muslim customer or Muslim country. So
Correct.
if we go more for conferences or more يعني webinar for non-Muslim, I think the same point Dr. Sid Salwa raised.
Yeah,
So it will be
yeah.
good. Yeah.
And one more thing, Professor, and also the conference organizers also should provide opportunities. I always discuss this with Brother Fazal. We need to invite these non-Muslim countries, tourism board representatives, just to come and sit in the audience, just to understand what is going
Just
on.
understand, yes. I agree with you.
Absolutely. So it's something very easy way to sort of convince and talk to them what is Muslim-friendly tourism is all about. So it's all the stakeholders ecosystem which can really develop this whole industry.
I totally agree. I think Mr. Fazal may at some point here. Mr. Fazal, if you need to add terms of challenging related to this, please go ahead.
No, I think the challenge is not really with halal tourism itself. I think, yes, there are challenges within the concept of halal tourism and understanding and all that, but I think the biggest challenge is the overall political environment of the world today, which is impacting Muslim, Islam, and halal, right? The overall narrative of the world is turning more and more Islamophobic. That's a reality, even if you don't want to accept it, So that's the biggest challenge. How do we navigate our halal food? How halal food, halal tourism, Muslim lifestyle. I mean, all these are, I think, sub issues, that I think, of course, we need to probably use those avenues to educate, but the education really has to be on the fundamentals of our values and our lifestyle, because that's where, the problem is, either some people are intentionally ignorant, or some people are ignorant, not ignorant, ignorant because they're not education. So we need to so I think that Islamophobia, probably 90-95% of the people are just don't know because that's what they've been fed. Of course, I think there is a small population, they know what they are doing. They try to deceive you. They try to, use this not the right way. So I think that's where the challenge is, and I think our job is to continue to educate. I think that's the only thing probably we can do, continue to educate of what our values are, because that's, our values are not what is reflected and what is what the media says our values are. They are taking our narrative.
But Mr. Fazal, do you think this one, because we don't have unified standards for halal tourism, this one
I really don't think it has anything to do with the standards.
Because sometimes it was different terminology, different. It
really doesn't matter. We really don't even have a standard for halal food for the last 30 years. We have been fighting each other. So I mean, standards, I think, are not the solution. It's not going to solve the problem. The problem is elsewhere. Whether we can fully solve the problem doesn't matter, but I think our job as Muslims is to do the effort.
Our task is to
do the effort.
do the effort to change the awareness, change the point of view about. I think we have one of my research. We are talking about the dimension just now. Sometimes even the religious freedom. If they sometimes Muslim they try to pray on airport or even a small issue, because sometimes they misunderstand this. So the issue is how can we go for this market and educate, create awareness, and change the view. This is the most important actually our tasks to do. So,
Yeah,
Mr. Malik,
I
you need
think
to say something?
Yeah, I mean, upon this as well, based upon the previous point, when we started, I think it was about 11 years ago, I think I remember 9 years ago, I was actually asked to deliver a presentation by the National Tourism Office called Visit Britain. And this was in a conference hall, and I was the only one who was a non-white, actually no, myself and another Indian woman, we were the only non-white people in attendance. And I was the only, in terms of the panel, I was only the non-white person there. And I asked, my first question was, when you hear the word halal, what does it mean? Do you automatically think it's related to food? They all put their hands up. And I say, no, it doesn't. But what's happened from there, when we've had obviously Professor's GMT
I think this
reports coming, we've shared
this very
them
good point,
with the
Mr.
right
Malik.
people in the actual industry in Britain. And we are members of a travel trade association as well, where now, because of us and the engagement with them, they would even do Eid Mubarak messages, etc. as well. Visit Britain, UK inbound. But one thing that I do notice, which is a challenge, which I don't really understand, well, I do partly, halal travel operators are generally in non-Muslim countries, they are not members of their local travel trade association. And we've been members of, I think, about 8 years now. And we're the only Muslim company. If we are any other Muslim companies,
Okay,
they
thank
don't
you so
brand
much.
themselves as halal.
Thank you so much, Mr. Malik. So maybe we need to close the session. We question for each one of you related to I start with Mr. Fazal. Actually, I skip your question, so I think you add more points in terms of challenges faces halal tourism. But I need to your thought in terms of what is the most promising growth opportunity you can see in halal tourism, particularly in emerging markets. Can you please add some points in this, Mr. Fazal?
Yes, I think there is an opportunity now, because I think a lot of opportunities actually not related to, not directly because of halal tourism. The opportunity once again is because of something else, because a lot of destinations are realizing that they need to diversify their arrivals.
Yeah.
That's the driving force. Yeah. So when they want to diversify, because they don't want to rely on one or two big markets, which everybody talks about, the Chinese market, the Indian market, and all that, which is important for tourism. I mean, I don't want to downgrade those markets, but they also need to diversify. So when destinations are looking to diversify their visitor arrivals, the next biggest market is the Muslim market. So that's the driving force behind what's going on with most of them. And I think that's an opportunity for us to help those destinations to make it a lot more easier for Muslims to explore those destinations. So yeah, the reasons probably are not directly related to the Muslim travelers, but because of certain challenges the destinations are facing, Muslim market comes into place. Our job is to educate, because generally the tourism boards are a lot more open and wanting to bring in the Muslim travelers, but they understand. But it's the other sectors around the destinations that sometimes don't understand, and that's some of the obstacles that we face.
Okay. We have question here from before we close from in the chatting. Could you please highlight the difference between halal tourism and religious tourism, as many people get confused about this, and speak about the importance of Sharia principle in ethics in tourism that impact how halal a product or services is. For example, hotel does not pay its workers on time in violation of Sunnah. Okay, ESG, Islamic Business Ethics. This one question raised from Saeed Muaz Shah. I think might be from Malaysia because the name is familiar with me, if I'm not mistaken. Yani. So difference between halal tourism and religious tourism. Anyone can try to touch before I start? Difference between halal tourism and religious tourism.
I think this is the terminology has been a topic since we started in 2006. Everybody has their own terminology. Halal tourism, ziyarah tourism, Islamic tourism, Sharia tourism. I mean, we in 2012 we released a glossary on defining these terms as much as we could. So I think I personally, we have really tried to not to focus too much on this one, because I think this is not going to take us anywhere. Although for us, and I'm sure Dr. Batur agrees, in terms of religious tourism, it's very, very simple, very clear. There's only one place we go for religious tourism. Every other place is not religious tourism. We don't want to confuse ourselves. So I think religious tourism is very clear. We go for Umrah and we go for Hajj and we go for Ziyarah to Medina. So I think that's pretty clear. I think the rest of the market, the Muslim market, I have really given up on, you call it halal tourism, you call it anything you want, but we know what it is. It's about taking care of the requirements of Muslims, their faith requirements, it doesn't matter what you call it here.
Yes, I totally agree with you. Religious tourism, it might be, if you agree with me, it might be only for Muslims. Sometimes, because to do Hajj or Umrah, but at the same time, when we invite non-Muslim to visit Islamic heritage, or this one, it might be we cannot say we maybe مؤلفة قلوبهم. We can just maybe invite him for da'wah, invite him convert to Islam, but religious is religious. We cannot go beyond. This is my perception and my understanding. Even also for Islamic tourism, halal tourism in academia. Actually, we have big debate. We have many papers touch this point. Either we call it Muslim-friendly tourism, or halal-friendly tourism, or halal tourism, or Islamic tourism, or Islamic. So many debates. So, but we cannot agree actually about the term. When we use the terminology, this is the most important. So, if you're using the terminology, if you're inviting non-Muslim, it is recommended to use this one. If we are using for Muslims, of course, a different approach. So I totally agree with you, Mr. Fadal. So it's a big debate. In terms of the rest of the question, I got the point. Importance of Sharia principle in ethics in tourism, and how actually Sharia principle. I think this Mr. Dr. Sid Salwa, I thought we have the maqasid al-Sharia. We have to combine the framework with the Sharia with halal tourism. Framework. Even Rida comes also from مقاصد الشريعة, if I'm not mistaken. We have to protect the environment, we have to save our life, we have to, all this one, of course, we have to include in this. So this is a question from one of the participants. So last question to close, if for 1 minute, if you have if we have time, maybe 1 or 2 minutes for each one of you. What is the future of halal and sustainable tourism worldwide? Maybe 1 or 2 minutes. We're starting with Mr. Irshad. The future of halal and sustainable tourism worldwide. Do you have any perspectives?
Yes, inshallah. So my point of view is very simple. It's about we are the future of halal and sustainable tourism lies in building journey that honor both the creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the creation, where ethical values, spiritual depth, and also environmental care, and all these three walk hand in hand across every destination. So this is very simple. So we are aligned with both. We are honoring both creator and the creation, and also where ethical values, spiritual depth, and of course, I always say that environmental care walk hand in hand across every destination.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Abdul Malik, do you have any insights on future trends related to your industry?
Apologies, it's the mic again. Yes, no, I definitely echo once again what Brother Shard has said. we are noticing people want to be more conscious in terms of like how can you fit the Creator Allah in your journey, in their journeys, etc. as well. And obviously, I think what we've noticed as well is the fact that people are looking for content that's more aligned with their Muslim heritage, and that's just basically bringing them more closer to their identity, and in doing so, that kind of like makes them closer to Allah. That does.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dr. Zid Salwa. If you have any prediction of halal sustainable tourism or trends you need to add.
I just want to end my session just talking about the future of halal tourism, to call for the shared responsibility among all the businesses, industry, government, traveler to uphold this fit and ethical sustainability. It's not about one man show, it's not about one company show, it's not about one country responsibility, it's about all together. So I believe that this is among the things that it's need as a part of as responsibility as a Muslim. I think that's all from my side.
Okay, thank you, Fazal. Mr. Fazal, I need to hear from you last your insights or vision related to future of halal and sustainable tourism on global scale, because you are now I think the main source now for anything we write in our research. So
We are just a suburb, we are just a suburb. So I think there are two things we are really discussing within our research teams and on that our team. So one is that for us, we have been there for about 17 years now, alhamdulillah. We were mainly focused on you need to get halal food, you need to get prayer rooms. So we now want to really go beyond that. It's time to go beyond that. This is what the idea of Rida framework as well. We need to cover the overall. It's not just. I mean, alhamdulillah, we have built the awareness now to a large extent. We still have to do more work on that one, but I think we want to really go beyond that. We want to encapsulate a lot more things. Inshallah, that's the attempt through Rida. So we'll keep pushing the boundaries now on that, not just focus on halal food and prayer facilities, which was our main focus. Which brings to the second point that we are contemplating. We have had a couple of discussions. I have been very, very focused. Everybody, from the very beginning will ask me, Fazal, halal food for everybody. Halal is not only for Muslims. I say, look, I know that, but I'm just focusing on making sure the Muslims are okay. That was my focus for the last 16, 17 years.
So next step, you focus now, but we need you to
go beyond. So that's a discussion. Yeah, so that's a discussion we are now having. Is it time to now go beyond? Of course, halal, Allah says, it is for the mankind, not for Muslim. But our focus for the last 15, 16 years was, no, we have a problem for Muslims. We have to be 100% focused on solving the problem for Muslim. We never, in our literature, you will say halal is for everybody. We never use that term because we wanted to focus on this one. So, but now, is it the time is something that we are contemplating?
Yeah, as long as you start in 2027, 2027, right? Or 29?
2007.
2007. So yeah, we are almost the time is so please. So thank you. Okay, thank you so much for all of you. Actually, supposed to be I'm learning from you actually, for all of you, mashallah, all of you raise very important point to all of us. So let me close the session today by as we wrap up today lighting webinar, let's agree that halal tourism not only for encourage travelers to explore new destinations, but also honor cultural traditions while caring for our planet. So we need to protect the sustainable planet, or make it sustainable, more sustainable. We have reached the conclusion of this session, and I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to our esteemed panelists for their invaluable contribution. These insights shared today, we are truly amazing and incredibly informative. To everyone joining us, we are all warmly invited to participate in the upcoming edition of Sustainable Tourism Forum, where we will delve deeper into the strategies that are shaping a more sustainable and responsible future. Don't forget to follow our website and social media platform, this one from ICCD, because to stay updated with our upcoming session and theme. And at the end, thank you for all of being here, and we look forward to seeing you next time, inshallah. And thank you so much for all of our esteemed panelists. Thank you so much, and it's a pleasure to having you with us today. And thank you, and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. جزاك الله خير.
بارك الله فيك، جزاكم الله خير جميعا. كده ونراكم في إن شاء الله قريبا، فيس تو فيس. إن شاء الله.
Inshallah. Ameen.
inshallah.
Ameen. Assalamu alaikum.
السلام عليكم.
Salam salam.